Welcome back to another episode of 4Expedition Adventurer. In this episode, we venture out to northern Arizona and the beautiful Arizona Nordic Center for a backpack trip to the Morning Glory Yurt. Along the way, I'll show you my ultralight backpacking equipment, my backpacking food list, and my solar panel charging system, and enjoy an adventure filled with tips and tricks for the ultralight backpacker. The next episode of 4Expedition Adventurers starts now. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of 4Expedition Adventure. I'm Scott Leuthold. Today I'm coming to you from the Arizona Nordic Center. And the Arizona Nordic Center is located just a little ways north of Flagstaff, Arizona, on the north slope of the San Francisco Peaks. The Arizona Nordic Center offers year-round, wonderful outdoor activities to come and enjoy. In the wintertime, you can come here and cross-country ski and snowshoe. In the summertime, you can come here and hike, trail run, and backpack. And in all of the seasons that the Arizona Nordic Center offers activities for, they all include being able to come here and rent and stay in a yurt. And if you go back through my older videos, you might find one where I backpacked to the Honeysuckle Yurt here a couple years ago. I decided to come back here and do some backpacking to the Morning Glory Yurt, which you see right here behind me. The Morning Glory Yurt is the furthest distance to backpack to from the lodge. The Morning Glory Yurt is sitting in a saddle between two mountains and offers an extraordinary view of the San Francisco Peaks. And it's a really wonderful place to come and stay and get away and just truly experience nature and the solitude and peace that you can afford here. Also, these yurts come with fire pits outdoors, grills outdoors, and on the inside there's a wood-burning stove. They supply firewood. There's a table and chairs, a lantern. There's sleeping mats. So a lot of the things that you would normally bring on a backpacking trip you don't really have to bring. And if you don't want to carry your gear, you can also hike to these yurts, and you can pay the Arizona Nordic Center to haul all of your gear out here for you on an ATV. They'll bring it out, and then you hike out, and your gear's here when you get here. They also offer water, firewood. There's a lot of games that you can rent in the lodge and bring them out here and spend some time with your, either alone, with your partner, with your children, and just to really enjoy a wonderful experience out here. While I'm out here, I plan on sharing with you some tips and tricks about ultralight backpacking that I've learned over the years. I'm a very seasoned ultralight backpacker. If you haven't subscribed to the 4Expedition channel, I encourage you to become a subscriber. There's a lot of great information that I share. And if you'd like to be notified of upcoming videos, be sure to click the notification button. If you'd like to support 4Expedition, I encourage you to go to patreon.com/4Expedition. I offer a lot of great packages, including t-shirts and hats, decals, stickers, and other great things, and your support goes a long way to create quality content for this channel. I'm really looking forward to sharing this episode with you, so sit back and enjoy the ride. This is the Arizona Nordic Center trail system, and you can see there's a highlighted green marker here that is the route that I'm going to take all the way back to the Morning Glory Yurt. It's the furthest out yurt in the system, and this particular yurt has a really nice view of the San Francisco Peaks. Last time I filmed, I stayed right here. This one's called Honeysuckle, a really nice one as well. It's in thick forest, but there's really no views. So I'm really looking forward to camping up here at this yurt. I am allowed to have outdoor fires, plus there's a wood-burning stove. Should be pretty nice. For those of you who have watched my channel for a while, you might remember an episode where I come up and do a little bit of backpacking here at the Arizona Nordic Center and staying at the Honeysuckle Yurt. And I brought my dog that time. It's only about 1.2 miles to get to that particular yurt, and my dog at that time was about 14 years old, and she's definitely up there in age now, and we had a lot of stops that we had to make in order to get her all the way out there, so I didn't bring her along. I know a lot of you have been asking me what's up with my pup, and she's doing really well. She stays at my girlfriend's house when I'm on these trips. She absolutely loves it there. She's got another dog there to play with named Scout, and they get along really well, so I intend to bring her along with me on a couple of road trips here again soon. But on a trip like this, it's just too hard to bring her along. Plus, I have to pack all of her gear. Last time I came, I wasn't really packing ultralight because I had to bring her and all of her food and her bedding and her jacket and a lot of extra film equipment and things like that. This time, and I think at that time my pack was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 to 55 pounds, which is not an ultralight setup. The pack that I'm carrying right now is a total maximum weight of 33 pounds. And that's including pretty much everything except for my ultralight tent, which is made by Big Agnes, and my ultralight sleeping pad, which is also made by Big Agnes. And also I didn't bring my Black Diamond titanium trekking poles. So I've got a total weight, including food, water, kitchen, sleep system, everything else, at about 33 pounds. And that is a really incredible weight for a multi-day backpacking trip. Now, I didn't have to bring the tent along because I'm staying in a yurt, but even with the tent, sleeping pad, and everything else, I'd probably be looking at about 35 total max weight, which is really incredible because I know a lot of people who do backpacking and their packs generally tend to be somewhere up in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 pounds, which is pretty ridiculous. And it certainly takes away from the experience of backpacking. So I'll probably share a little bit more about my ultralight backpacking setup here once I get up to the yurt and start unpacking, and I'll show you some of the equipment that I've got and provide you some links to some of that equipment so that you can look into getting some of that for yourself. So the weather's supposed to be pretty nice up here. It's high in the low 60s and probably around 30 degrees at night. And I'm at I'd say about an 8,000 foot elevation at the moment. I'm probably going to be climbing close to 1,000 feet. And then of course, the views that I'll have will be of Mount Humphreys, which is outside of Flagstaff in the San Francisco Peaks. That tops out around 13,000 feet. The aspen trees are still changing colors here. They haven't dropped yet, so I'm hoping to be able to sit in a couple of really nice, beautiful aspen groves and share that with you. It's just a really wonderful time of the year to be up here. Flagstaff is only about a 2.5 hour drive from Phoenix, and you can go from low desert up into high alpine in that short period of time. Really wonderful. And now that the weather's cooling off down in the valley, I'll be doing some adventures in the desert. Those of you that are used to watching my channel, you've probably heard me say that before, that when the weather starts to change, one of the really wonderful things about Arizona is that you get to continue your adventures in a completely different terrain and climate zone and different flora and fauna. It's just a really great state for adventure. Looks like we have 0.9 of a mile to the Morning Glory Yurt. I've actually never been on this trail beyond Honeysuckle Yurt, so I'm looking forward to that. Walking up to a map here, an intersection of the trail. We again started down here, came up through here, all the way up through here, came up through here. We're right here. So we're not too far off, a little bit further, and we'll be at the Morning Glory Yurt. Well, it looks like here she is. Boom. Very nice. Got a little porta potty over there. This beautiful sloping meadow. There's the mountain. Got a nice park bench, fire pit, picnic table, Looks very similar to the last one I stayed in. Wasn't expecting really anything different. A couple chairs, a table, a lantern, some storage bins. I ordered a little water. So there's some water here. 2 bed cushions. They're actually pretty thick. I usually sleep on both of them when I'm here by myself. I actually ordered some pre-cut wood because we're in the national forest, and you are required to actually buy wood if you're going to use it here. And there's our nice little wood burning stove. We've got some wood ready here with a little hatchet. Got a fire extinguisher, some instructions. Looks like we have a smoke detector. What's really cool too is on the ceiling, there's actually a skylight, so I can lay here at night and just look right up at the stars. It's really awesome. And when you come over here to the window, you look right out the window and there's this beautiful meadow and the tallest mountain in the state of Arizona. Man, that's beautiful. A couple of months, that mountain there is going to be covered in snow. There'll be people skiing. Quite an extraordinary place. Nothing like sitting in a sunny, beautiful meadow eating some trail mix after taking off a 35-pound backpack. You feel like you got wings. It's a very beautiful little place here. For those of you in Arizona, if you haven't been here before, I recommend it. If you're not from Arizona, definitely get down here. It's a beautiful time of the year to be in this part of the state, and it's still beautiful and sunny and warm, but beautiful and crisp and cool at night. You can still have a campfire outside here. There's no fire restrictions. It's pretty nice. Okay, so the first thing you don't want to do when you go backpacking is put all your clothing in some kind of a stuff sack. And the reason you don't want to stuff it into a stuff sack is because it really actually takes up more room than if you leave everything out and you can stuff it and fill in little gaps in places. And it's really what you want to do. You want to have a nice low center of gravity on your backpack. And when you basically put your clothing just in different pockets and little spots that are open and available, it definitely evens out the weight. Okay, so as I go through this, you're going to notice that I've got a pretty simple clothing setup. I believe in dressing in layers. And, you know, in Arizona especially, where it gets warm during the day and it gets cold at night, you can add layers and in the daytime take off layers, and you really don't need to bring a lot of clothing if you do that. So I've got a sweatshirt in here. I've got a windbreaker rain jacket, and this goes over the top of my down jacket that I'll show you here shortly. I've got a pillow here. I like this particular pillow. I really don't like it when they have the down pillows that get really flat. I need some support around my head and neck when I sleep. But if you open this up, it's a pretty decent little pillow. It comes in a little pocket, you unroll it, and before you know it, you got a pretty nice, good-sized pillow. I've got a couple Ziploc bags that have some safety gear. I've got sunscreen, I've got extra matches, I've got extra rope. I've got some duct tape in here. I've got a tiny little sponge. I've got some items in here, Gorilla tape to fix a tent if I have a tent hole, and a number of other items in here that like moleskins and things like that if you get blisters on your toes and whatnot. And then I always bring a tiny pair of gloves. These Nikes, I've showed you these before. They've got nice grips on them. I do have a second tiny pair of gloves, or thin layer glove along, because these don't actually allow you to use your iPhone. I have another set of gloves that actually have the magnetic tips on them, so I can actually use it with an iPhone when I'm filming outside and it's cold. I've got an ace bandage, simple ace bandage. I got 2 pairs of pants along, and the reason I bring 2 pairs of pants is because sometimes when you're out in one pair, you can easily slip and fall, and sometimes fall in a pond or a creek or something like that. And it's always good to have a second pair of pants along so you can put something dry on. I did bring 2 different t-shirts. I don't usually bring this many t-shirts along, but I brought these along because I wanted to be able to show you some new 4X t-shirts that I've got. Got some undies and some socks. And then my sleep system, I've got a pair of stretch pants, Nike stretch pants. I've showed you these before. Got a nice little long sleeve, lightweight shirt that I wear to bed. And here's those gloves I was telling you about that have the magnetic tips on the fingers. And then you get into my cook pot. I showed you this in my last video. This is a really great cook pot system. It's titanium. I've got a bowl and a mug inside here. I've also got my gas in here and a lighter. Because I really enjoy relaxing when I'm out here and about, I brought a little hammock along. This is pretty lightweight. This here is a really nice, super simple, tiny, self-closing backpack. So if I want to take a little day hike, I can throw a little backpack on, put a little water in there, my binoculars and things like that. Got my hat. You've seen that before. This is my bathroom kit. I've got a little bit of toothpaste in here. I've got some bug repellent. I've got a little sewing kit in here. I've got another little bit of sunscreen. I've got some Advil. Got some cortisone. A little bit more rope. If I get bug bites, I've got something to kind of mitigate the itchiness of a bug bite. I did this last time. This is my towel. Got a first aid kit in here. Always have to have a first aid kit along. You never know what's going to happen. Then I've got my Ultralight down jacket, which actually zips into its own side pocket. This one is made by GoLite. Unfortunately, GoLite's out of business now. I really, really love that company. As I've showed you before, I've got these ankle braces along. I've got a Cocoon Liner. This actually, if it gets really cold out, this actually lowers the temperature a little bit and, raises the temperature a little bit inside your sleeping bag, keeps you a little bit warmer. Then we've got my food bag, which is actually a pretty good size. It's in a Sea to Summit case. This is enough food for basically 3 days. And then I've got my orange Ultralight sleeping bag. You've seen this before. I usually sleep inside this up in the rooftop tent, but I've got it in a compression sack. It gets really nice and small. I also brought a stack of books. I like to read. So I've got some books. I've got my journal that you usually see me writing in. Pretty crazy how much stuff I got in here. Another sock. And then I've got a Camelback in here that actually holds 3 liters of water. So I've got 3 liters of water in here. This will help me if I decide to go hiking or something like that. They did bring some water here for me. I'll probably drink their water and use that while I'm here and cook with it, but I'll have this along in case I want to go for a nice hike. And then let's get into the side pockets. I've got a solar panel here. I'll talk a little bit more about that while I'm here. I've got my trusty mug hanging off the side. I've got a Bluetooth speaker. I really love this little thing. Made by JBL. Pretty cool. And I've got an extra hat along. I've got some flip-flops because I have my hiking boots on. Sometimes I want to be able to run around in a pair of flip-flops without having to put my hiking boots on. I've got another tripod over here. I've got some healthier bug repellent in here. I don't think I'm going to really have much trouble with bugs. And then this thing's got a nice front pocket on it. And in the front pocket is pretty much where I keep all of my utensils and things. I've got some toilet paper in here. I've got my awesome trusty Petzl headlamp here, and this is USB chargeable, rechargeable. Got my kinetic stove in here. You've seen that before. I've got some really super awesome titanium silverware. Got my sunglass case in here. I've got some Lunolife really cool little LED lights that I can string up, a little string of lights. And then I've got in here, I've got this really great solar cell phone charger. I just got this for a birthday present from my good friend Robert. You've met Robert before if you watched my video on Cabo Pulmo diving that I posted a couple months ago. He gave me that for my birthday. I've got a cooking knife, really nice little cooking knife. I got that at Walmart, no big deal. It's got a little sheath on it. And then I've got a little spatula. I actually took the handle off the end, and who needs the long-ended handle? This makes it a lot more lightweight. And then I've got a really cool, I just got this for my birthday as well from some of my coworkers. This is a really cool USB rechargeable lighter. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. And then other than that, I've just got some recharging cables and things like that. I also brought a pencil in case I want to do some writing. And so I also, on the other side, I've got front belt pockets on either side. And these are hip belts. And then in one side, I've got actually a pair of binoculars. Really nice little set of binoculars. They actually fit right inside this little pocket here. And then I've also got over here, I've got a Leatherman, and I've got a buck knife, and some other little things like chapstick and whatnot. But as you can see, I got a lot of stuff in here, and I could probably even go much lighter than this if I wanted to, but I don't really feel like I need to. Between 30 and 35 pounds fully loaded is perfectly fine with me. It doesn't really weigh you down that much compared to a 50 to 70 pound backpack that I used to use years ago. And I've got everything that I could possibly want to bring along and still keeping it under 35 pounds. Okay, so then last but not least, to talk about my backpack itself. This is an Ultralight Jam 50 by GoLite. And GoLite's no longer around, unfortunately. They had some trouble and they had to go away. And it's primarily because they tried to cut out the middleman and go direct to the consumer. And it didn't seem to work out all that well for them, but they were a really great company. I think they were based out of Boulder, Colorado. So you can't get this backpack anymore. I've actually got two of them. I've got a yellow one and I've got this gray one. They're both Jam 50s. So when I take people along with me, I pretty much have gear to take a second person along. But I really love this backpack. I used to use a Gregory, which was very, very comfortable. It was much, much larger, but also much, much heavier. I could fit a lot more stuff in it. Had a lot more pockets and things, which also means there's a lot more zippers. And it just made it very, very heavy. And the last trip that I used that Gregory for was on a 35-mile backpack trip across parts of Yosemite National Park. And I went up over Cloud's Rest, which is actually quite a bit higher up above Half Dome. So I was doing a lot of elevation gain and down, and I sat down on a log while I was on that trip, and I said to myself, you know, I'm either going to stop backpacking altogether or I'm going to get a much, much, much lighter weight setup. And I decided to do a much lighter weight setup. It's definitely paid off. I enjoy backpacking a lot more than I used to because the weight of the bag and everything in it is so much lighter. And as I said before, sometimes when I'm going backpacking, I don't bring some of these things. There are a couple of items I mentioned that I didn't bring on this trip, like the tent and the inflatable air mattress and my titanium hiking or trekking poles. And I always generally bring trekking poles along because they say that trekking poles actually reduce the strain and the fatigue on your knees by something like 30%. So if you don't use trekking poles, I recommend bringing those. I didn't bring them on this trip because this is only about 2.5 miles in, 2.5 miles out, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. So if you have any questions about any of my gear, I'm more than happy to share a little bit more about that with you. I've got a really nice little spreadsheet that I'm happy to share with people of all the different products that I use. And I'll also have links to a lot of this stuff on Amazon so you can find it yourself. And if you really want to learn more about it, just private message me and I'll be happy to talk with you. All right, so while I'm at it, I want to go ahead and show you what's in this food bag. I did forget a couple of things in my refrigerator. I usually bring a little Ziploc full of cabbage salad. And the reason I like to bring cabbage salad is because it does not wilt very quickly. And literally, you can go on a 5-day backpacking trip and you can take some purple cabbage and regular cabbage and some chopped up carrots and maybe some peppers and things like that. Cut it up and put it into a Ziploc bag. And because those vegetables are so hearty, they really last a long time. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do some backpacking, bring cabbage salad and things like that. That'll last a long time. Outside of that, I did bring myself a little bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. To go along with that, I've got a really nice spicy cured salami. My good friend Aaron will laugh at this. I've got some ginger snaps. The reason I bring ginger snaps is because they're pretty durable. They don't break up all that easily in a bag. Some of them seem to have broken up a little bit, but for the most part, they're pretty durable. I also brought some coconut milk powder. This way I'm able to make my own milk and just mix a little bit of water in there, and you mix it. You pour some of this in the bowl. You put some water in. You stir it up pretty well. It makes a nice milk mixture, and then I can put my cereal in there, and then I have milk and cereal. And then on top of that, oftentimes I'll put some dried cranberries. I've got some healthy organic beef jerky. I've got some Arizona white corn tortillas. I don't bring bread along. I've got a whole bunch of bars along. These are good for a snack. I always really love these cherry Lara bars. And then Nugo dark chocolate pretzel. These things are the bomb. Definitely check out those. You can get those at your local grocery store. And then in here I've got some coffee, I've got some tea, I've got some stevia, and I even have some Cliff Shot. And Cliff Shot gives you extra energy in case you're backpacking and you start getting burned out. And I've got some vitamin C here. This helps keep you healthy when you're out and about. Got little instant coffee pouches by Starbucks. Nice little thing in there. And then when it comes to oatmeal, I also bring, oh, by the way, here's the cereal. I bring this along. It's just a Ziploc, enough for one breakfast. And then I've got, for the second morning, I've got organic oatmeal. It's kind of cool. You can actually use these pouches for measuring the amount of liquid that you need to add. Got 2 of those. That'll make a nice hearty breakfast. And I'll put some of those cranberries on top. And then for dinners, I've got that salami I showed you a second ago. I like to do these Bombay potatoes, and then I'll mix in this Star-Kissed chicken. So I've got pouched chicken, and if you don't use it on this backpacking trip, it lasts for a long time inside these pouches. So you can buy a couple of these and you can keep them for different outings. But this makes a nice hearty meal right here. And then I've got, for lunches, I've got some albacore tuna. And I'll usually put that tuna on the corn tortillas, things like that. And then I've also got, for the second night, I've got some more of this chicken for the second night. And then I've got some powdered garlic potatoes. And then I'll mix in some bacon bits. So that's pretty much what I've got along. I have to tell you, I cannot, sorry Mountain House, but I cannot stand Mountain House. It just does not taste good to me. Yes, it's lightweight, but I would much rather bring along items that I feel are tasty and more, in my opinion, nourishing and have a little extra weight than bringing super lightweight Mountain House and feeling like I'm left eating pretty much, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, pine cones off the ground, something like that. Some people like that Mountain House stuff. I'm not a big Mountain House fan. I tend to go organic and healthy with most of the food that I eat if I can. And I also have, and one more thing, I also have some nice trail mix in here. Generally, as I said, I forgot my cold food items. I bring some apples along. Sometimes I bring those little cuties along, things like that. But for the most part, this is what you got. I like to eat. So I don't like to skimp when I'm backpacking. I've got friends that they'll go on a 2-day backpacking trip and the only thing they bring is trail mix. That's not me. I'd much rather endure a little extra weight and have good food to eat along the way. Well, the sun is starting to go past the western ridge here. Some tall ponderosa pine trees blocking a lot of the sunshine, so kind of have to chase the sunshine down here into the meadow. What a beautiful afternoon sun. Just shines up on that mountain so brightly. I grabbed a little backpack and see if I can climb to the top of this ridge here and watch the sunset. It should be very beautiful. Lighting's pretty nice right now. It's a little bit of a hike to the top, but it doesn't look too bad. You don't realize just how out of shape you are until you start climbing a ridge like this at about 9,000 feet. It's not really even that high up, but it's pretty steep. Getting close. Boy, it sure is beautiful. The yellow tall grasses in the afternoon sunlight. Wow. Here we are. Wow, the sun's up still pretty high. God, it's gorgeous though. You can see all sorts of cinder cones out there. See if I can zoom in on that. You see those mountains out there? Most of those are cinder cones from ancient volcanoes. See this incredible view of the mountain. Look at that. That's called Hart Prairie down there. And that grove of aspen trees in the middle of the prairie, I've been in that grove because just below that, right in the tree line at the bottom, is Hart Prairie Preserve, and it's a Nature Conservancy property. And I just talked about that when I was down in Patagonia, talking about Hart Prairie as a Nature Conservancy preserve, and it's right down there, right below. And something else that's really interesting to share with you is that one of my favorite camping spots is right down in this area here. It's right along this slope. And you drive, there's a forest road, 151, that cuts across here. I filmed here before, chasing thunderstorms. And I was probably right up about, let me just zoom in here. Right in this area here is a really amazing place to camp. There's a trailhead there, some great fire pits. You're in the aspen groves, and in the fall when the leaves change color. It's just extraordinary. And then right there is Mount Humphrey. That's the tallest point in Arizona. And at the top there's a big stone ring, and people climb up to the top of there. You can do it in a day, and it's so windy up there that you sit inside this rock circle for protection. And if storms come up, which they come up very quickly, you really have to book it down off of there, because many people have actually gotten zapped by lightning by being up there. And then this over here, that's called Agassiz. It's another great mountain peak. And as you can see right in front of Agassiz there's a bowl. That's why it's called Arizona Snowbowl Ski Resort, because even though there's a lot of great runs that are easy, and there's a really great wide open area called Hart Prairie, you can also climb to the top and actually ski down that bowl. So there's another slope here that goes up a little bit higher. So I thought I'd climb up there and see if I can get a good view of looking north toward the Grand Canyon. Just another gorgeous spot to view the mountains. Man, this little plateau up here would be fabulous for an overland vehicle. Run up here and throw a rooftop tent up, either that or there's another one over here that's pretty nice as well. Really nice flat area. There are some forest roads that come all the way up here. I'm not sure if they're open to the public or not, but it'd be really interesting to find out. There's just something really special about being up on a hilltop like this with nobody around. Really not much signs of human life. There are a couple jeep trails around traversing some of these ridges here, but for the most part, it's just me. I can see off in the distance a couple of cabins behind me and the San Francisco peaks. Just no breeze. It's just quiet. Just such an amazing glow through all these plants and through the ponderosa pine trees. Just so beautiful. Just want to stay up here until it's dark. But I think I'll probably go down and start making some dinner. Settle into my place tonight and build a fire and just relax, maybe read a few books, listen to a little bit of music, and maybe do a little writing, maybe a little meditating. All the things that add richness to this experience out here. Sun's definitely going down. On this side of the slope, there isn't much. Well, it's certainly a lot faster coming down than it is going up. Looks like they have a solar panel on top of the woodshed, and attached to the solar panel looks like they have a webcam. I'm guessing that the webcam's looking up at the mountain, and that gauges, allows them to be able to see what the weather looks like up on the mountain. I don't suppose that it's capturing, activity around the yurt. But if you do come here, I would keep that in mind. Boy, you can never use too much moisturizer when you're in the desert. Even up here in Flagstaff, it's pretty dry. I've been living in Arizona for about 30 years, actually a little over 30 years. And I have to tell you that my skin has certainly taken a beating. I have a lot of problems with my sinuses. Inside my nose gets real dry all the time. I have to constantly moisturize up my nose, my face, my arms. My shins get real itchy and dry, so I've got to keep those moisturized. The desert definitely does a number on your body. So if you're a subscriber to my channel or you've watched many of my channel videos, you know that my entire channel is filmed with one single iPhone. So there's a lot of work involved in creating these videos. But the last video that I filmed, which was just 2 weeks ago, was the Patagonia adventure down to Deep Dirt Farm. And that video I filmed in 1080 using an iPhone X. And the video before that, where I was up in the White Mountains, I shared with you that I was thinking about getting an iPhone 11. And since the Patagonia video and up to the point where I'm here in the yurt, I actually was able to get an iPhone 11 Pro Max. And it's got over 500 gigabytes of storage space. So my goal is to shoot only in 4K. And I want to shoot in 4K for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's sustainable for the long term on YouTube as 4K becomes more prevalent and 1080 starts to go away, which will happen eventually. And the other reason is because the iPhone 11 has amazing range with the camera, with the colors, with the audio, and I'm hoping that shooting in 4K with an iPhone 11 will give me a lot more color range, a lot more crispness, and better sound quality for all of you to truly enjoy. I've got a really great iPhone case with this phone. It's made by Mouse. And Mouse is a European company that makes iPhone cases, and this particular iPhone case has been tested many times by dropping it from a crane, tops of buildings and things like that. And for the most part, it withstands a lot of hard impact. So I got one of those cases. I also really am excited about the fact that the iPhone 11 is actually submersible in water. So I plan on doing a little bit of video underwater, in streams, things like that, different angles, camera angles where I'm down in a stream and whatnot. And that'll give me a lot more range as well as expressing my creativity with my videos. Boy, it's just really wonderful to get out into nature. I try to get out here as often as I possibly can, as you know. If you don't spend much time in nature, I really recommend you spend more time, because there's a vibration and frequency out here that it's important for us to get back in tune with. And that's really what my book and my e-course are all about. Talking about the vibration and frequency of nature. And then I have an e-course that actually helps those who don't spend much time in nature go through a process of reconnecting with nature and becoming more confident to be out in nature. But when we're in the city and we're dealing with the commotion of commuter traffic and the stress revolving around raising families and paying bills and all of that, that frequency becomes muffled and muted, and we sort of disconnect from it. So spending time every once in a while out in nature creates a balance that we all really truly need. And when we get out here and we realize what's really truly important, you start to, I guess, reconnect with all of the earth. Now, my partner Amy, who's a neuroscientist, she invented a technology called touch points that in 30 seconds or less mitigates your stress. You can check that out on her website, amysarin.com. But when you're in the city, I recommend using touch points to mitigate stress within 30 seconds if you're dealing with it. But as often as you possibly can, get out into nature. Just a peace and solitude comes over you when you're out in nature, and you can take that back into the city, and you can realize that you're just an observer of your experience and just really go about your day in a much more peaceful and balanced way. So I've returned to a book that I started reading a while ago. I think it was almost a year ago when I was staying in a tiny cabin on a ranch in southern Arizona. And I talked about this book then, and the book's called The Laws of Spirit, Simple, Powerful Truths for Making Life Work by Dan Millman. You might remember Dan Millman is the guy who wrote the book The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, which is a really good book. Anyway, there's a really good quote in here by Lee Poe that says, "We sit together, the mountain and I, until only the mountain remains." Just a little bit ago when I was sitting on the log, I was talking about the experience that you have in nature when you connect to the 432 hertz frequency. And eventually, when you spend more time in nature, you start to realize just how important and valuable it is, and you kind of create a unity with nature. And that's what this quote, I think, represents. The book goes on to say, "Within the mystery of life, the universe operates according to laws as real as the law of gravity, woven into the fabric of existence, reflecting the primal intelligence of the universe. These laws of spirit direct the mechanics of the universe, the movements of flowers reaching toward the sun and waves thundering to the shore. They govern the movement of the earth, the cycle of the seasons, and the forces of nature. To their song, even the galaxy stands." I always like when you stay in places like this when people leave journals for you to put a little bit of information about yourself and your experience. Last time I was here when I stayed at the honeysuckle yurt, I read that one, and it was pretty full. This one's actually only got 3 in it, which means it's probably they've already probably filled up a book and started a new one. But when I was filming at the honeysuckle yurt, the book was almost full, and there was some really funny stories in there. Some great stuff. If you want to go back and watch that episode, you can watch that for yourself. Just laying out in the sunshine in the tall grass. The reason I'm laying over here is because I need to charge my phone, and I'm using solar panel chargers. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time telling you a little bit about the solar panels that I use when I'm out in a backpacking experience, because I really don't have any other types of charging devices. Sometimes I'll bring a power bank of some kind, maybe like by Anchor or something like that. But for the most part, I don't really need to do that. And pretty much everything that I bring that's technology is USB rechargeable. And my solar panel actually has 2 USB ports, and I like to use that, as well as I have a wireless iPhone charging base that is actually solar panel charged as well. So pretty much I'm self-sufficient as long as we have some sunshine. And for the most part, when you're filming in Arizona, that's pretty much what you get. So essentially I've got 3 different solar panel systems. One of them is by Goal Zero. It's very small. It only has 2 panels. It comes with a charging pen, which basically allows you to hang this off your backpack and charge up the pen so that after the sun goes down, you can use that pen to charge other devices. And then once that's fully charged, you can disconnect that and connect with USB to charge your other devices as well. I take that sometimes when I'm ultralight backpacking. However, it's only got 2 panels. It's pretty small. It takes a long time. But more than that, I actually spend most of my time using this device here. It's got 3 panels. It's a dual port outdoor charger. In other words, it's got 2 USB charging ports. You can actually charge 2 devices at the same time. It actually comes with these really nice little carabiners, so you can hang this on a tree or on your backpack or something. But when you open this up, it's actually got 3 really good sized panels, and according to this, its measurements are 240 by 160 millimeters, which is a pretty good size coverage. Collects a lot of sun pretty quickly. I'm able to charge my iPhone with this in probably about, I'd say 4 hours, something like that. It's a 16 watt port outdoor charger, so I can charge 2 different devices at the same time. So while I'm charging my phone, I will also charge this wireless iPhone charging base, which actually also has solar. The solar on this actually is a little slow for my liking. Once this device is fully charged, with my iPhone 11, because the battery's so big, I can get probably about a half of a battery charge out of this thing. But that's pretty good, and when I run out of that at night, in the morning, I can usually charge up with my outdoor larger solar panel. I got this as a gift for my birthday from my boss, who's the CEO and founder of the company I work for. This thing works really well. When you plug it into the solar panel, it charges up really quickly, and as I said, the solar on the that actually comes with it is a little bit slow. It's finger licking good, although if I lick my fingers, God only knows what I'll be eating. I just built a fire just a little bit ago inside in the stove just to get the evening warmed up in there. And my fingers are covered in charcoal from the fire, so it's making my corn tortilla a little black. But you know, when you're out here camping, sometimes shit drops on the ground and you just bend over and pick it up and eat it with dirt on it. It's just the way it is when you're camping. But if you're in a kitchen in your home, you drop something on the floor, you're like, ooh, I gotta throw that away. Out here, anything goes. Besides that, when you're out here, you know, pretty much you're stuck with whatever food you got to eat, and if something happens, you tip over a bowl of soup or something, you're trying to figure out how to lap it up with your spoon off the ground. You know, I could probably drop a hot dog in a pile of horse shit and I'd probably still eat it out here. Then wash it all down with a little Cabernet Sauvignon in a box. Down the valley, there's probably no chance in the world I'd drink Cabernet out of a box, but up here, chug-a-lug.
Hard to breathe inside the dome I used to call home, stuck in the world that I was craving for. I try to change the way I see the world around me, but every time I end up where I began. The same way I always do my part, I try to make it stay. It's the same play, but with a change of heart.
So one last thing before I head out, I just wanted to show you this lighter that I got for my birthday from some of my coworkers. It's pretty cool. It's actually USB chargeable. So it's called the Explorer. It comes in this really nice little waterproof case, and it's got a lanyard attached to it with a little clip, so if you want to detach it and use it, you can keep it around your neck. And it's got this little clip on the top to keep it pretty watertight. You pop that clip off and you hit this button right here and it pops open. And then on the back here you've got your USB charger, you've got your igniter here, and then the way it works is pretty interesting. Hit this button here, see if I can show you. So there's no real big flame on it, but I can tell you it works really well. I'll show you, see if I can demonstrate that for you. so it lights pretty quickly. So I'm going to add this to my collection of USB devices that I can use my solar panels to charge with. I think it's going to be a really great little product over time. I actually used it this morning to start a fire in the stove by lighting a little bit of kindling and turn that into a nice, really big fire. I imagine I'll have some backups along on my backpacking trips, including a lighter and a flint. It's always smart to have additional options for starting a fire in the wilderness. But I think over time this is going to be a really great product. I like the fact that I don't have to worry about having fuel in my lighters, and as long as I have sunshine, this thing can always stay charged up, and I'll always have fire starter. I think I'll do another review on this down the road to see how it stands up over time. I will have links to this product in the description below, so make sure you check it out. Rough. It's pretty windy today. Get down off of this saddle here. I'll be dropping down on the north slope of this little elevation here. Get out of the wind. The Morning Glory yurt sits on a saddle, as I mentioned earlier, but it's an open meadow, so there's a pretty strong wind, and definitely shook the yurt all night long. Had to start up a fire around 2 o'clock in the morning in order to warm things up inside the yurt. You know, one thing I really didn't talk much about having to do with my backpacking gear is water filtration. So you might have seen my water filter that I used. I think it was the Black Canyon canoe trip that I took last year. Talked about that a little bit, or at least I showed it. I plan on doing another backpack trip probably later on this year yet to probably the Superstition Wilderness in Arizona. It's just east of Phoenix a little ways. It's an incredible wilderness area for backpacking. But I'll probably, on that backpack trip, show you my water filtration system. But I use a Sawyer water filter. They're very small. And then you basically screw it onto a plastic bladder. And then initially what you do is you submerge the bladders into a creek or a pond or whatever, some kind of water source. And then you screw the filter onto the top. And it's got a squeeze capability where it shoots water out the top of the filter. And you can put that right in your mouth. You can squeeze it into, into a pot to cook with and all that. And it's pretty easy. So when you're coming along a place where there's a water source, I usually just fill up a couple of my bladders and then screw the little plastic tops onto the bladders. And then when I get to my destination or when I feel like I need some water to drink, I screw the little filter onto the top and can squirt that right into my mouth or into an Algene bottle or something like that. I used to use other kinds of water filtration systems. Most of them suck. They take, get it? Most of them take a lot of extra work. They're really slow process to filter your water, whereas the Sawyer is actually really quick. And I've really had a lot of great success with that. Met a really nice couple this morning as I was stepping out of my porta potty after doing my morning business. Really nice way to meet new people. But they were passing through my camp. I believe they said that they were staying in the Lupine yurt. And they decided to hike up as far as they could go, and I sent them to the top of one of the mountains so they could see the views that I got to see yesterday. Hopefully they're enjoying that. I believe they said their names were Rachel and Zach. But if not, I'm really sorry. My bad. Kind of caught me off guard. Hopefully you're following the channel now. They said that they really loved the Southwest and wanted to spend more time out here. And anyway, they were telling me that on their hike in to the Lupine, they actually saw a black bear. I would really love to see a black bear, although I probably won't if I stay on this phone talking to you because I'm making too much noise. So I might put this phone down here in a little bit and just enjoy the peace and quiet and hopefully see maybe a black bear, maybe a mountain lion. Probably not going to see that. It's pretty rare to see those, even though they do occupy this area. Maybe some elk, coyote, maybe even an alien. All right, everyone, I think that's a wrap. I really enjoyed myself on this trip. I hope you did as well. As a token of my appreciation for you spending your time on my channel, I've decided to do a little giveaway. If you go to 4expedition.com/giveaway, you can go to that page and there's a sign-up form. You can sign up to be entered into a drawing to win some 4Expedition swag, just as a token of my appreciation. If you haven't subscribed to the 4Expedition channel, I encourage you to do that. And if you'd like to be notified of upcoming videos, be sure to click the notification button. And as always, if you'd like to support 4Expedition, go to patreon.com/4Expedition. Your support really matters in creating quality content for this channel. Until the next time, take care.